Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most transformative periods of human life, the teenage years. So, what really happens in that blurry, confusing, and honestly pretty incredible journey between being a child and becoming an adult?
Well, it is so much more than just getting older. It's like a complete rewiring of the body and the mind. It's all about finding your place in the world. So let's dive in and explore this incredibly dynamic and, let's face it, often misunderstood period of our development.
A good way to think about adolescence is not as some awkward phase you just have to survive, but as a crucial bridge. Every single piece of it, every change, every challenge, is absolutely essential for building the adult on the other side. At its very core, adolescence is this profound transition. It's not one single event, but more like a cascade of transformations, all happening at once. And while it might feel totally chaotic, these changes don't just happen randomly. They actually unfold in surprisingly predictable stages.
This whole journey typically breaks down into three distinct phases. First, you've got early adolescence, when the physical changes hit hard, and that classic question, who am I, really starts to bubble up. Then comes middle adolescence, where friends suddenly become the center of the entire universe. And finally, late adolescence is all about solidifying that identity and looking seriously toward the future. Let's kick things off with the most visible changes of all, the ones happening to the body.
All right, let's get into the massive physical overhaul that we all know as puberty. This is really where the biological foundation for adulthood is laid.
Now, this process is universal. Everybody goes through it, but the timing is deeply personal. It's basically a cascade of hormonal signals that kicks off a dramatic growth spurt and, of course, the development of sexual maturity. It's all about preparing the body for its adult form.
A really key difference here is the timing. Girls typically start this journey about a year or two before boys do, and as you can see, the first signs are different for each. But for both, it's a sequence of pretty predictable milestones. So for girls, puberty is this whole sequence of events, and it often starts with that really rapid growth spurt. The body shape changes, and eventually, menstruation begins, which signals the arrival of reproductive capability. In boys, the changes are usually a bit more gradual. The growth spurt happens later, but it often lasts longer. And this can lead to that classic feeling of clumsiness, right? Where your arms and legs seem to be growing faster than the rest of your body, creating this real sense of being out of sync. But as the body is transforming on the outside, a parallel and, you could argue, much more complex journey begins on the inside. All of these new physical realities force a teenager to start grappling with some pretty profound questions.
And this brings us right to the core psychological task of adolescence, figuring out who you are. It's this monumental shift from just being a child in a family to becoming a unique individual out in the world.
This is the central question. The famous psychologist Erik Erikson called this period's core struggle identity versus role confusion. And that's exactly what it is. It's the challenge to forge a stable sense of self, or risk feeling lost and totally directionless.
Building on Erikson's work, another psychologist, James Marcia, gave us this brilliant framework for understanding this whole process. He identified 4 distinct ways teens approach this, and it all boils down to 2 key factors. Have they explored their options, and have they committed to a path?
So first up is foreclosure. This is when a teen commits to an identity, often one that was handed to them by their parents or their culture, without ever really exploring other possibilities for themselves. The path is set, sure, but it wasn't really self-chosen.
Then there's diffusion. These are the teens who might seem a bit adrift. They haven't really explored their options, and they haven't made any firm commitments either. They might seem kind of unconcerned about the future. Essentially, the whole search is just on hold.
Now, moratorium, this is the active struggle. This is the teen who is right in the thick of it, trying on different hats, exploring different beliefs, different majors, different friend groups, but they haven't landed on a firm commitment just yet. This is the crisis part of the identity crisis.
And finally, that brings us to identity achievement. This is really the goal, to come out of that period of exploration with a clear, self-chosen set of commitments. These teams have done the work, and they have a really solid sense of who they are and where they're going.
Of course, this brand new identity doesn't form in a vacuum. It has to navigate a social universe that is rapidly expanding and getting a lot more complicated. And it's a universe dominated by 2 major forces, family and friends. Now, here's a really crucial point. Peers don't just replace parents. It's more of a restructuring of influence. Peers become incredibly important for all the day-to-day stuff,
music, style, social plans, but parents often remain the primary anchor for those big-picture values, like education and future goals.
And how parents navigate this whole shift is incredibly important. Decades of research show that parenting styles have a huge impact. We can map them out using two key ideas: demandingness, which is all about rules and expectations, and responsiveness, which is about warmth and support. This gives us these 4 distinct styles.
And one style consistently leads to the best outcomes, the authoritative style. As you can see, it's all about balance. These parents have high demands and high responsiveness. They set clear rules, but they do it with warmth and open communication. They explain the why behind the rules, and they foster independence. This balance is consistently linked to teens who are more confident, more capable, and more successful.
So, after navigating this whole maze of physical, psychological, and social change, what does it all mean? What's the big picture here?
Well, while it can certainly feel stormy, it's a huge mistake to view adolescence as just a problem to be survived. It's actually a fundamental and absolutely necessary journey of detaching from childhood dependencies to construct a unique, personal blueprint for the future.
And that leaves us with a final crucial thought. This entire process, the growth spurts, the identity crises, the shifting social circles, it isn't just something to be gotten through. It is the foundation of adulthood. And understanding that helps us see adolescence not as chaos, but as the incredible and essential work of becoming who we are meant to be.